Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning we will be in Ezekiel chapter 24, verse 1, through chapter 26, verse 21. The word of the Lord came to me in the 9th year, in the 10th month, on the 10th day of the month. Son of man, write down the name of this day, this very day. The king of Babylon has laid siege to Jerusalem this very day. Recite a proverb to this rebellious house, and say to them, This is what the sovereign Lord says. Set on the pot, set it on. Pour water in it too. Add the pieces of meat to it, every good piece, the thigh and the shoulder. Fill it with choice bones. Take the choice bone of the flock, heap up bones under it. Boil rapidly, and boil its bones in it. Therefore this is what the sovereign Lord says. Woe to the city of bloodshed, the pot whose rot is in it, whose rot has not been removed from it. Empty it piece by piece, no lot has fallen on it. For her blood was in it. She poured it on an exposed rock. She did not pour it on the ground to cover it up with dust. To rouse anger, to take vengeance. I have placed her blood on an exposed rock so that it cannot be covered up. Therefore this is what the sovereign Lord says. Woe to the city of bloodshed. I will also make the pile high, pile up the bones, kindle the fire, cook the meat well, mix in the spices, let the bones be charred. Set the empty pot on the coals, until it becomes hot and its copper glows, until its uncleanness melts within it and its rot is consumed. It has tried my patience, yet its thick rot is not removed from it. Subject its rot to the fire. You mix uncleanness with obscene conduct. I tried to cleanse you, but you are not clean. You will not be cleansed from your uncleanness until I have exhausted my anger on you. I, the Lord, have spoken. Judgment is coming, and I will act. I will not relent, or show pity, or be sorry. I will judge you according to your conduct and your deeds, declares the sovereign Lord. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, realize that I am about to take the delight of your eyes away from you with a jolt. But you must not mourn or weep or shed tears. Groan in silence for the dead, but do not perform mourning rites. Bind on your turban and put your sandals on your feet. Do not cover your lip, and do not eat food brought by others. So I spoke to the people in the morning, and my wife died in the evening. In the morning I acted just as I was commanded. Then the people said to me, Will you not tell us what these things you are doing mean for us? So I said to them, The word of the Lord came to me. Say to the house of Israel, This is what the sovereign Lord says. Realize I am about to desecrate my sanctuary, the source of your confident pride, the object in which your eyes delight, and your life's passion. Your very own sons and daughters, whom you have left behind, will die by the sword. Then you will do as I have done. You will not cover your lip or eat food brought by others. Your turbans will be on your heads, and your sandals on your feet. You will not mourn or weep, but you will rot for your iniquities and groan among yourselves. Ezekiel will be an object lesson for you. You will do all that he has done. When it happens, then you will know that I am the sovereign Lord. And you, son of man, this is what will happen on the day I take from them their stronghold, their beautiful source of joy, the object in which their eyes delight, and the main concern of their lives, as well as their sons and daughters. On that day a fugitive will come to you to report the news. On that day you will be able to speak again. You will talk with the fugitive and be silent no longer. You will be an object lesson for them, and they will know that I am the Lord. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, turn toward the Ammonites and prophesy against them. Say to the Ammonites, Hear the word of the sovereign Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. You said, Aha, about my sanctuary when it was desecrated, about the land of Israel when it was made desolate, and about the house of Judah when they went into exile. So take note, I am about to make you slaves of the tribes of the east. They will make camps among you and pitch their tents among you. They will eat your fruit and drink your milk. I will make Rabbah a pasture for camels, and Ammon a resting place for sheep. Then you will know that I am the Lord. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you clapped your hands, stamped your feet, and rejoiced with intense scorn over the land of Israel, take note, I have stretched out my hand against you, and I will hand you over as plunder to the nations. I will cut you off from the peoples, and make you perish from the lands. I will destroy you, then you will know that I am the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Moab and Seir say, Look, the house of Judah is like all the other nations. So look, I am about to open up Moab's flank, eliminating the cities, including its frontier cities, the beauty of the land, Beth Jeshimoth, Baal Meon, and Kiriathaim. I will hand it over, along with the Ammonites, to the tribes of the east, so that the Ammonites will no longer be remembered among the nations. I will execute judgments against Moab. Then they will know that I am the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Edom has taken vengeance against the house of Judah. They have made themselves fully culpable by taking vengeance on them. So this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will stretch out my hand against Edom, and I will kill the people and animals within her, and I will make her desolate. From Teman to Dedan they will die by the sword. I will exact my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. They will carry out in Edom my anger and rage. They will experience my vengeance, declares the sovereign Lord. This is what the Lord says. The Philistines have exacted merciless revenge, showing intense scorn in their effort to destroy Judah with unrelenting hostility. So this is what the sovereign Lord says. Take note, I am about to stretch out my hand against the Philistines. I will kill the Cherethites and destroy those who remain on the seacoast. I will exact great vengeance upon them with angry rebukes. Then they will know that I am the Lord, when I exact my vengeance upon them. In the 11th year, on the first day of the month, the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, because Tyre has said about Jerusalem, Aha, the gateway of the peoples is broken. It is swung open to me. I will become rich now that she has been destroyed. Therefore this is what the sovereign Lord says. Look, I am against you, O Tyre. I will bring up many nations against you, as the sea brings up its waves. They will destroy the walls of Tyre and break down her towers. I will scrape her soil from her and make her a bare rock. She will be a place where fishing nets are spread, surrounded by the sea. For I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. She will become plunder for the nations, and her daughters who are in the field will be slaughtered by the sword. Then they will know that I am the Lord. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. Take note that I am about to bring King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, king of kings, against Tyre from the north, with horses, chariots, and horsemen, an army and hordes of people. He will kill your daughters in the field with the sword. He will build a siege wall against you, erect a siege ramp against you, and raise a great shield against you. He will direct the blows of his battering rams against your walls, and tear down your towers with his weapons. He will cover you with the dust kicked up by his many horses. Your walls will shake from the noise of the horsemen, wheels, and chariots, when he enters your gates like those who invade through a city's broken walls. With his horses' hooves he will trample all your streets. He will kill your people with the sword, and your strong pillars will tumble down to the ground. They will steal your wealth and loot your merchandise. They will tear down your walls and destroy your luxurious homes. Your stones, your trees, and your soil he will throw into the water. I will silence the noise of your songs. The sound of your harps will be heard no more. I will make you a bare rock. You will be a place where fishing nets are spread. You will never be built again, for I, the Lord, have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to Tyre. Oh, how the coastlands will shake at the sound of your fall, when the wounded groan at the massive slaughter in your midst. All the princes of the sea will vacate their thrones. They will remove their robes and strip off their embroidered clothing. They will clothe themselves with trembling. They will sit on the ground. They will tremble continually and be shocked at what has happened to you. They will sing this lament over you. How you have perished. You have vanished from the seas, O renowned city. Once mighty in the sea, she and her inhabitants, who spread their terror. Now the coastlands will tremble on the day of your fall. The coastlands by the sea will be terrified by your passing. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. When I make you desolate like the uninhabited cities, when I bring up the deep over you and the surging waters overwhelm you, then I will bring you down to bygone people, to be with those who descended to the pit. I will make you live in the lower parts of the earth, among the primeval ruins, with those who descend to the pit, so that you will not be inhabited or stand in the land of the living. I will bring terrors on you, and you will be no more. Though you are sought after, you will never be found again, declares the sovereign Lord. Yeah. Yeah. So Ezekiel talks here about Jerusalem being a boiling pot with rot in it. That is, the uncleanness and obscene conduct of the people of Jerusalem is in it. And so the pot will be scorched and burnt with fire until the copper turns red. to cleanse it from its rot. Then you have Ezekiel's wife dying here. And God commands Ezekiel, as an object lesson for the people, not to mourn for his wife, but to groan in silence, to bind his turban on his head, put his sandals on his feet, and not to cover his lips and eat food brought by others. Yeah. Yeah, in the same way, they would be, the house of Israel would act the same way when their delight would be taken from them. And then you have various judgments on the lands around Israel that are like, yay, Israel's fallen. Judgments on Ammon, Moab, and Ammon, Moab, Edom, and Philistia. And also a large judgment against Tyre here, saying that they will be destroyed. Which, for a point of geography, some people, I guess, previously I had thought that Tyre was just the island, but it had a significant mainland presence as well that Nebuchadnezzar invaded and destroyed. So, there's that. Yet you shall neither mourn nor weep. Ezekiel was strangely forbidden to grieve or even weep over the loss of the desire of his eyes. The command was strong, nor shall your tears run down, and no visible signs of mourning were permitted. So I spoke to the people in the morning. Presumably, Ezekiel spoke as he had many times before, reporting what God had told him to proclaim. This time the message was both strange and sad. As a prophet, he told them that his wife would die. We can only wonder what Ezekiel had told his wife the night before. At evening my wife died. This was a great loss to Ezekiel, one that many have suffered. The title, The Desire of Your Eyes, points to a dear and loving relationship. Throughout the book, Ezekiel is presented to us as a man of deep feeling and emotion who often mourned and wept over the fate of Jerusalem and Judah. He certainly was deeply afflicted by this sudden loss of a dear companion and spouse. The next morning I did as I was commanded. Remarkably, Ezekiel obeyed God. However overwhelming the feeling may have been to mourn and weep, Ezekiel was determined to honor God by obeying him despite his feelings, in the quite understandable circumstances. The strange event had the intended effect. The people were shocked and mystified at Ezekiel's sudden loss and strange behavior. By this time, the captives were familiar enough with Ezekiel's methodology to realize that the absence of emotion at the death of his beloved wife must have some prophetic meaning. They therefore asked the prophet to explain his conduct. You shall do as I have done. When all this tragedy comes upon their dear ones in their dear temple, the people would have to respond as Ezekiel did. Their shock would make them unable to mourn normally, and perhaps the Babylonian culture would also hinder their expression of grief. Carrying on, Hebrews chapter 11, verses 1 through 16. Now, faith is being sure of what we hope for, being convinced of what we do not see. For by it the people of old received God's commendation. By faith we understand that the worlds were set in order at God's command, so that the visible has its origin in the invisible. By faith Abel offered a greater sacrifice than Cain, and through his faith he was commended as righteous, because God commended him for his offerings. And through his faith he still speaks, though he is dead. By faith Enoch was taken up so that he did not see death, and he was not to be found because God took him up. For before his removal he had been commended as having pleased God. Now, without faith it is impossible to please him. For the one who approaches God must believe that he exists, and that he rewards those who seek him. By faith Noah, when he was warned about things not yet seen, with reverent regard constructed an ark for the deliverance of his family. Through faith he condemned the world and became an heir of the righteousness that comes by faith. By faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place he would later receive as an inheritance, and he went out without understanding where he was going. By faith he lived as a foreigner in the promised land, as though it were a foreign country, living in tents with Isaac and Jacob, who were fellow heirs of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with firm foundations, whose architect and builder is God. By faith, even though Sarah herself was barren, and he was too old, he received the ability to procreate, because he regarded the one who had given the promise to be trustworthy. So in fact, children were fathered by one man, and this one as good as dead, like the number of stars in the sky, and like the innumerable grains of sand on the seashore. These all died in faith without receiving the things promised, but they saw them in the distance, and welcomed them, and acknowledged that they were strangers and foreigners on the earth. For those who speak in such a way make it clear that they are seeking a homeland. In fact, if they had been thinking of the land that they had left, they would have had an opportunity to return. But as it is, they aspire to a better land, that is a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. Yeah. I like the definition of faith here at the beginning. Now, faith is being sure of what we hope for, being convinced of what we do not see. That is, it's not this blind, evidence-less thing that we have to take on faith. Well, without any evidence, rather. But it's being convinced of what we do not see. That is, that we have good reason to believe in what we do not see. Just as our physical eyesight, in the sense, is the sense that gives us the evidence of the material world, faith is the sense that gives us evidence of the invisible, spiritual world. Faith has its reasons. The Bible doesn't recommend a blind leap of faith, but the reasons can't be measured in a laboratory. They have to be understood spiritually. There are also good reasons to believe physically as well. Take, for instance, the Bible itself and Jesus Christ himself, who all but the most fringe of historians believe actually existed, and his life is detailed in many books, not just the Bible, and the witness testimonies provided therein. Contrary to, other documents, like Caesar's Gallic Wars, which I don't remember how many we have, but it's less than 20. And the Odyssey, which I think is in the single digits, we have 6,000 copies of 6,000 manuscripts of the Bible available to us. And you can see the effect that Jesus has had on history, splitting time itself here for us. Yeah. For other reasons, cold case Christianity and, that is, J. Warner Wallace and Lee Strobel do a good job. So. And then Hebrews goes on here to talk about how these various people chronicled throughout the Bible have faith in God, and God commends them for it. Yeah, the author of Hebrews also states something in 11:6, that is, without faith it is impossible to please God, for the one who approaches God must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who seek him. So, yep. Anyway, carrying on here, Psalm 110, verses 1 through 7. Here's the Lord's proclamation to my Lord. Sit down at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. The Lord extends your dominion from Zion. Rule in the midst of your enemies. Your people willingly follow you when you go into battle. On the holy hills, at sunrise, the dew of your youth belongs to you. The Lord makes this promise on oath and will not revoke it. You are an eternal priest after the pattern of Melchizedek. O sovereign Lord, at your right hand, he strikes down kings in the day he unleashes his anger. He executes judgment against the nations. He fills the valley with corpses. He shatters their heads over the vast battlefield. From the stream along the road he drinks, then he lifts up his head. Yeah, and this is one that Hebrews mentions as being specifically a messianic. That is, the Lord said to my Lord, sit down at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. That is, God speaking to God. Yeah, and this God will be an eternal priest after the pattern of Melchizedek, and also a judge of the nations. And finally, Proverbs chapter 27, verse 14. If someone blesses his neighbor with a loud voice early in the morning, it will be counted as a curse to him. Yeah. Interesting to me. Even though you do something good for someone, it may be regarded as something bad if done wrongly. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.